The first project I quoted was like $500 and she didn't even book. So that, I definitely had to build up confidence to where I am now. I started out charging just under $2,000 for, I think, like a 5-page website. I raised it gradually over time as I added more into each project as I gained experience. It was definitely a gradual ramp up. Instagram is the biggest one. It's where I'm probably the most active. That's like where I've invested my most energy marketing wise. It's funny when I took your course, and even before I was like, I'm not gonna make an Instagram account. I'm like, this is too much. I don't need to be on Instagram more. And I was dead set against it. And then ended up being like, okay, no, this is stupid. Like, this is such a visual platform. It's been the best source of clients since.
Hello, Samara, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Of course. I would love to start off with you today asking what inspired you to take the courses and what was happening in your life when that happened?
So I ended up signing up for both the business course and your design course. In my life at the time of taking them was like this very start of the pandemic, which was like a huge time of change. This was sort of like a pandemic pivot moment, and it turned out to be a really good thing, but that's what spurred on taking your course initially. I had been doing design projects for a while, but mostly for friends, for another business that I was running, and like for a couple nonprofits. So it wasn't very formalized, but I was really enjoying it and looking for something that I could do from home during daytime hours, because my other job was all evening work and was completely shut down during the pandemic. And I really loved the design work, wanted to go much deeper, but also realized that I wanted to be a sustainable business. And what I loved about your course and what motivated me to sign up was that like business aspect of it, that I would be able to not only like hone these actual design skills, but take it from something that was so informal at the time to bringing in consistent income.
And then tell me about, so you said you had some past experience. So what, had you built websites before? What had you been doing in terms of like design before that? Did you have any like formal education in it at all?
No, like a lifelong love for art and design, like a child of an artist. And like, this'll like show that I'm a 90s kid, but do you remember Nexopia? Or MySpace, the sort of like early social media design platforms where you could like create profiles with like basic CSS, basically. Like, I loved that sort of thing as a kid. But other than that, it was like Squarespace, like playing around with customizing Squarespace templates, building Squarespace sites, like I said, for another business that I was running, for a few friends, and for a nonprofit. But I had never gone, like, I don't have any formal design education and do a design degree, all self-taught.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think that gives people so much confidence because it's like, okay, I don't need that actually. Because I feel like I'm the same way. I always want to tell people, I'm like, you do need to learn how to build great websites, but you don't need to like have a degree in computer science.
Totally.
Okay, and then tell me about, so you decided, you took the courses, you enrolled. How long did it take you until you got your first like paid client, also maybe even unpaid client, and then actually paid client as well?
It took me, like, I worked through the courses sort of at my own pace. I definitely didn't, I didn't binge it. So it probably took me at least a month or so to like work through the whole thing. Right when I sort of finished the course or was building my own website, I arranged a few trades, sort of like one with a photographer for some brand photos, and I built her site. Another for a fitness studio that I was working out at, and like built a site for her for like free classes. So I did some trades first. So I guess those would be unpaid clients. And I think I got my first paid client, like if I finished the course in August, maybe in December or January. So like within 4 or 5 months.
Amazing. Good. Yeah. That's awesome. And then talk to me about how you are landing clients these days. What's that looking like? What's like the method that they find you through?
Instagram is the biggest one. I think that's where I'm probably the most active. In terms of sort of like organic leads. Referrals are also a big source of new clients for me, and some through Google search and blogging, but mostly Instagram, just from building a community on there, and that's like where I've invested my most energy marketing-wise.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So many designers are getting a ton of clients through Instagram. It was never my thing, but every time that I see people doing it successfully, I'm like, amazing. And you could tell, like, when you enjoy it, when you spend time on it, like that it works.
Totally. Yeah. I liked definitely like the community aspect of it. It's funny when I when I took your course, and even before I was like, I'm not gonna make an Instagram account. Like I had a personal one. I had one for another organization that I was running. I'm like, this is too much. I don't need to be on Instagram more. And I was dead set against it. And then, ended up being like, okay, no, this is stupid. Like, this is such a visual platform. You need to be able to share your work on it. And it's been the best source of clients since. Yeah.
And then can you talk about, so you don't just do websites, you also offer other services. Can you tell me about what exactly, like, the different offerings that you have?
Yeah. So mostly websites and branding. But the way that I do things a little bit differently as a designer is I also start each project with a mini coaching container, or like brand strategy coaching container. So because the other thing that I'm doing other than design is one-to-one mentorship for other creatives. So designers or other designers, or just women who are creative entrepreneurs. So those are the two main things. And then a lot of projects I do like a brand package and either Squarespace or Showit or Shopify design as the actual website platform.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing. Love that you do all three. That's really interesting.
Yeah. They work, each platform works well for different clients. So it's nice to have the option. Yeah.
Yeah. Love that. And then can you talk about pricing on your projects? Like, what does a client tend to invest when they're like working with you?
It depends a little bit on what the package is, if they're doing branding or not. If we're just doing a website, like a website only project, I price starting at around $6,500, and a full investment with brand as well is around $9,000 for a package.
Awesome. And then tell me about like working up to those prices. What were you starting at, and like how long did it take you to get to those prices that you have now?
Yeah, the first project I quoted was like $500. And she didn't even book, so that, was a I definitely had to build up confidence to where I am now. I started out charging just under $2,000 for, I think, like a 5-page website.
And then did you incrementally raise it, or was it like?
Oh, I did. I raised it gradually over time as I added more into each project, as I gained experience, as I gained the skills to also be able to offer things like full brand design, copy support with launch strategy and brand strategy. So it was definitely a gradual ramp up to where I am now. And I also sort of adjusted the timeline of my project. So I was starting out working on a much shorter timeline, and I take more time now with each client.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then can you talk about, you have your eyes actually set on doing some other things. You want to move in the direction of like passive income things. Can you talk about like what the dream is for you now?
Yeah, so I have a course that I launched for the first time in the spring, and I'm planning on relaunching it again at the end of this year. And it's focused on email marketing for creatives, but specifically using Flowdesk. So it really covers like the tech side of things, as well as a little bit of strategy with growing an email list, creating a really impactful freebie. So the goal is there to be able to add in more of a passive. I know it's never fully passive, because as you know, like launching a course is so much work. But so yeah, it's funny to like call it passive, because I guess it's not. But that's the concept, to be able to add something in that's a digital product.
Totally. People use passive income, and we both know like that's not what it really is. But like, that's what the term is, so we'll go with it. That's amazing. And so what made you decide? How many months were you booking out in advance? And then when did you realize like, oh, I need a better way?
In terms of creating a course, or
sorry, in your like client services, you started booking out, and then you realized like, I need to do something else. Can you talk about like when that kind of light bulb moment happened for you?
Yeah. So in terms of like shifting my process from a short to longer term process,
in terms of like, was it that you were booking out so far in advance, and then you realized, oh, I need to create something else, or up your prices, or how did you decide like, I want to switch from having services like and something also more like scalable?
Oh, totally. It was a couple things. It was, yeah, starting to book out more in advance and also clients coming to me feeling like, okay, I'm going to launch my website and this is a really good time for me to also be focusing in on email as a new marketing avenue. But many of them felt just like super overwhelmed with the tech and like how to get started and do that. So I thought like, oh, it'd be great if I had this product, this more scalable product that I could just give to my clients who are signing on for a website package to help them get started. So I'm not doing all of the tech and all the setup for them. And then also it could be something that could help other people in my audience who aren't coming to me for a one-to-one service.
That is, you'd say like that's quite fast. What you did was like starting the business and then also switching over to like starting to scale in another way. Like that's really impressive that you did that so fast.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm still learning and there's still lots more growth that can come from it. And your course was really helpful in getting started with that, like in not just like learning those really awesome design skills, but being able to think about it as a business from the start. Like it just gave me so much confidence.
So you mentioned you had another business before. Was running a website business different, or did you have to do some other things, or like what was kind of new to you once you got into like running a website business as opposed to the other one?
Yeah. So the business I was running was an organization of community choirs. So I'm a musician as well. And it was very localized. So we were only really advertising to people like in the town that I was living in. A lot of it was word of mouth, which is completely different than shifting to an online business where I was hoping to reach women all over Canada and all over the States to work with. So there was definitely more to learn that way, like how to market online far and wide, as opposed to like people who live within 10 kilometers of me.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Different ballgame for sure. That's amazing. And then can you tell me, in terms of, for someone who's watching this right now and they're looking at you and I'm going to post your website link and everything so I can look at your amazing work. If they're looking at you and they're just like, how do I do that? Like, how do I do what Samara's done? Can you talk about like, what do you think were the factors that made you successful as a website designer? Is there anything you can try to like pinpoint that was helpful?
That's a really good question. Yeah, I think a few things. I think if someone's watching this and they're also like, oh, I didn't go to school for this, but it feels exciting and it feels like something I'd really love. I think something that is really important is that just like, let's like jump in and go for it sort of attitude. Like listen to that voice that's like, yes, this is exciting. This is something that's going to feel aligned, and not letting the fear of not being qualified initially, because you'll learn so much as you go. And then sort of related to that, I think the other thing is like investing in good quality help or support or resources right away. Like your course. For me, working with a one-to-one coach like really helped me get started, or like get from that place of just starting to creating the business that I was envisioning. So I think just going for it and investing in support earlier than you think you might be ready. That's key too.
That makes sense. Yeah. I love what you say about like just get started. I literally couldn't agree more. It's just so many people, they think, oh, I need to have all these credentials and all these certifications and all these whatever degrees. And it's just like, you could, or you could also just start today.
Right. If you keep waiting, you'll just continue. You're never going to feel fully ready. Like you won't. Even I think even with a design degree, then you'll just be comparing yourself to that next level of expertise, you know? So you might as well just get started and go.
Definitely. Yeah. And then can you talk about what is being your own boss like? If someone's in a 9-to-5 and they're just like, oh, I wonder what that's like every day. Tell me about like what it's like to work for yourself.
Oh, I love it. I didn't come from a 9-to-5 environment, so I don't have that full like contrast to share, but it's really freeing in many ways. I get to fully make my own schedule and work in sweatpants, which is awesome as an introverted person who likes to be, you know, a homebody. I love that. Yeah, it can be challenging sometimes to like separate, to like leave work at home, or to leave work outside of home, I guess, to keep that separation. But the freedom makes it totally worth it. There's no limit on what my business can become, you know, based on, there's no like structure of a company where it's like, oh, I can only be promoted this many times. Like I could grow it to whatever I wanted to.
I love that. That's so good. Also, talk to me about this. Talk to me about being an introvert and running a business. Because a lot of people think like, oh, I have to be super extroverted in order to be successful, in order to do marketing or something. Can you talk about having that fear?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think you have to be super extroverted at all. I think it'll help you actually relate to people more deeply a lot of time. A lot of times introverts are a little bit and that's not to say extroverts aren't empathic. I was about to say that. I was like, wait, no, that sounds wrong. But often we are able to relate on like or intuit things on like a little bit of a deeper level. And I think there's ways to show up and sell yourself online that aren't as like in your face and loud and extroverted, that are more just like sharing your passion for your work and how it can really help other people. And I think you don't necessarily have to be extroverted to do that.
Yeah. Talk to me more about that. Like the marketing and the landing clients or like doing consult calls as an introvert. Is there anything which you found like works really well for you, or anything where you're like, no, I could not do that. Like that's an extrovert thing. And I just like, I could never.
Yeah. For consult calls, I like to have a really clear structure. Like that's really helped me to sort of know the format that the call will take, and to be um, just thinking of it more as a conversation, and to be asking permission all the way throughout. If I keep those things in mind, I find it takes some of the stress of having to like show up in this businessy persona away. It's just like, okay, I'm showing up on a call with someone who I'm just going to get to know a little bit better, and I'm going to check in with them all the way throughout the call and see, okay, is it okay now that I ask about your business? Is it okay that I share about mine, and that sort of thing. So that having that framework has really helped me a lot as someone who doesn't consider themselves to be super extroverted. I don't know if I'm answering that super well.
No, you did perfectly. I love that. Because that's one thing people always say. I don't even know. I don't know if I'm an introvert or extrovert. I swear I'm both. In like certain
And I feel some of
situations.
those too. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. If I know people, I'm like, you can't shut me up. But if I'm new in a new situation with new humans, I'm just like, I can't strike up a conversation and like save my life. But yeah, that's one thing which people are always saying. So also talk to me about like, so your marketing strategy, you're really big on Instagram and then getting referrals. I feel like people who are watching this, they're going to be thinking like, but what do I actually do in terms of like marketing myself if I'm introverted? Are you on stories? Are you just posting on the feed? Like, what's the way that you feel like works for you?
I definitely notice my energy, and then try to like capitalize on those times when I'm feeling a little bit more outgoing and extroverted, and like batch as much content as I can. So that might look like recording reels if I'm feeling like, okay, I want my face to be on the camera, or like pre-recording a story and just saving it. But I don't actually show up and talk to the camera as much as some people might. Like I'll often post Instagram stories that are photos with text on top, where I can just write, because writing feels like a more comfortable marketing medium to me than speaking speaking to a camera or recording a video. But that's definitely a good tip, is like noticing how your energy ebbs and flows, and like being okay with that. And if there is a time when you're in more of a like energetic, motivated state, like take advantage of that and pre-write your content. So yeah, so I'm doing a combo of posting on feed and on stories, but not feeling the pressure to like show up every day, and taking breaks.
Yeah.
I like never am on Instagram on the weekends, which is awesome. I just am like, goodbye.
Good one. Can you also talk to me about who did you niche your business and / or like who tends to be your typical clients if you do have like a typical client?
I didn't niche in the sense of like, I only work with people in X industry. Like I'm not only working with photographers. I would say the niche is more stage of business. My typical clients tend to be at least a couple years in, like finished with the DIY route, ready to outsource. But I do work with creatives across a whole variety of industries, from like hairdressers, painters, photographers, jewelers, even people who are like holistic nutritionists, but consider themselves to be creative souls, you know? So I would say it's sort of like an umbrella of creative business owners.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And then can you also talk to me about, you decided to do a few different like website building platforms. When did you make the decision, and like how did the decision come about to be like, oh, I also want to learn Shopify, I also want to learn Show It, as well as like Squarespace?
Yeah, so the first one that I dove into was was Show It, and that was feeling some design limitations of Squarespace, which I will say are now largely gone because of Fluid. um, but that was the initial reason. Also, just wanting to be able to have two options for clients, like for people who came wanting Show It specifically. So I did that about a year after taking your course. So about a year after that. And then Shopify, for two reasons, because if clients wanted a Show It website and they needed some sort of e-commerce integration, then Shopify works well for that. And also just with the hope of wanting down the road, wanting to work with some larger brands or brands with more of like an in-depth product suite, needing something that was a little bit more intense e-commerce wise than Squarespace, which works awesome, so great for a small store, but not as well for
Totally.
a brand with like hundreds of different products.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's definitely like a reason to use all the different ones. Like there are certain businesses where it's like, perfect, you're perfect on this or you're perfect on that. So love that. Okay. And then my final question, can you share with us, for anyone who's on the fence, thinking about joining the courses, you've gone through them, what would you say to that person?
Yeah, I would say that it's a really, really awesome resource to get started. And like I said before, maybe I sound like a broken record, but it's like what was the most valuable for me was not only gaining those design skills and like Squarespace tips inside of your Square Secrets course, but like also having kind of a roadmap to get my business started and getting support with marketing and like different marketing avenues with all those different interviews that you had, and like learning about systems through Honeybook and all those kinds of things that have saved me so much time now that I had no idea about beforehand. So it's a really great tool to learn design, but also a really great tool to like actually turn it into a sustainable business. So I would say get off the fence and join it.
That's amazing. Thank you. That was so good. Honestly, Samara, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yeah.
That's so great. Wasn't that inspiring? Hearing real success stories like this reminds us that building the business of your dreams is absolutely possible, and it starts with finding the right clients. Now, the best client finding method isn't about chasing the latest trend or jumping on every shiny object. It's about truly discovering a client finding strategy that feels natural, works for you, and helps you connect with the clients that you actually want to work with. So, if you want to figure this out for yourself, you can take my quiz, Which Client Finding Method Matches Your Personality Type? And in it, you will uncover the perfect way to land your dream clients without the overwhelm or the endless trial and error. So click the link below or head to paigebrunton.com/quiz to take the quiz, and then you can start building your web designer dream business today. I can't wait to hear which marketing strategy result that you got.